The natural world is filled with extraordinary organisms, each with its own story of survival and adaptation. Few, however, possess a history as complex and conflicted as the opium poppy. Its scientific name is Papaver somniferum, which translates from Latin as the sleep-bringing poppy. This name hints at its powerful properties, which have fascinated humanity for thousands of years. The plant itself is a thing of delicate beauty, with petals like silk that flutter in the breeze. Yet, within its swelling seed pod, it holds a substance that has brought both profound relief from suffering and immeasurable misery to societies across the globe. It is this duality, this incredible contrast between beauty and danger that makes the opium poppy one of the most significant plants in human history. Our planet is a tapestry of life, where every species has a role to play. The opium poppy is no exception. It grows under the sun, turning light into life just like any other plant. Its flowers attract pollinators, ensuring the continuation of its kind. But what sets it apart is the milky latex that oozes from its unripe seed capsule when scored. This substance contains a cocktail of potent chemical compounds known as alkaloids. These include morphine, codeine, and thebaine, among others. For millennia, humans have sought out this plant not for food, but for the profound effects these chemicals have on the human body and mind. It is a relationship that has shaped empires, sparked wars, and continues to pose one of the greatest challenges to modern society. The story of the opium poppy is, in many ways, a reflection of our own human nature. We have an innate curiosity and a remarkable ability to harness the resources of the natural world for our own benefit. We learn to cultivate wheat for bread, to domesticate animals for companionship and labor, and to identify plants with medicinal properties. The discovery of the poppy's power was a monumental moment in this journey. It offered a way to conquer pain, a universal human experience. Yet our species also has a capacity for excess and exploitation. The very same substance that could soothe the afflicted could also be used to enslave, control, and profit from the suffering of others. And so we are left with a plant that is both a gift and a curse. Its pastel-colored flowers can transform a landscape into a breathtaking sea of color, a sight of pure, natural elegance. But this visual splendor hides a complicated truth. The journey of the opium poppy through history is not just a botanical one, it is a human story. It is a tale of medicine and addiction, of healing and destruction, of intricate international laws and clandestine criminal networks. To understand this one plant is to gain a deeper insight into the complex relationship that we, as a species, have with the world around us and ultimately, with ourselves. To truly appreciate the opium poppy, one must first look at the plant itself. It is an annual, meaning it completes its entire life cycle, from seed to flower and back to seed, within a single year. Standing tall on a slender pale green stem, it can reach a height of up to 1.5 meters. The leaves are lobed and have a grayish-green hue, clasping the stem in a distinctive manner, but the true spectacle is the flower. Before it opens, the flower bud droops, as if nodding its head. Then, as it prepares to bloom, it straightens up, and 2 sepals fall away to reveal the magnificent petals within. These petals are often white or a pale lilac, but can also be shades of pink, red, or purple. The flower's center is just as striking. A ring of numerous delicate stamens surrounds a large bulbous pistil. This pistil, the female reproductive part of the flower, is what will eventually develop into the famous poppy capsule. After the petals have withered and fallen away, this capsule begins to swell, growing into a smooth, rounded or oblong pod, crowned with a distinctive star-shaped stigma. It is inside this pod, during its green, unripe stage, that the plant produces its precious milky latex. This is the raw opium, the source of the plant's power. Once the pod matures and dries, it becomes a woody vessel, and small pores open beneath the crown, allowing the tiny kidney-shaped seeds to be shaken out by the wind, ready to start the cycle anew. Papaver somniferum thrives in specific conditions. It prefers a temperate climate with warm, dry weather, particularly during its flowering and capsule development stages. Too much rain can wash away the valuable latex and encourage fungal diseases. It grows best in fertile, well-drained soils, from sea level up to high altitudes. Historically, its origins are traced to the Mediterranean region, but its cultivation has spread far and wide. Today it is grown legally for pharmaceutical purposes in countries like Australia, Spain, France, Turkey, and India, under strict government control. These licensed farms are carefully managed to produce the alkaloids needed for modern medicine. However, the same conditions that make these regions suitable for legal cultivation also make them ideal for illicit production. The most notorious areas for illegal opium farming are found in what is known as the Golden Triangle in Southeast Asia, encompassing parts of Myanmar, Laos, and Thailand, and the Golden Crescent in Southwest Asia, primarily Afghanistan. In these regions, the poppy is often grown in remote, mountainous terrain, far from the reach of government authorities. For many impoverished farmers in these areas, the opium poppy represents a cash crop that is far more lucrative and resilient than traditional food crops, creating a complex cycle of poverty and illegal trade. The relationship between humans and the opium poppy stretches back into the mists of prehistory. Archaeological evidence suggests that Neolithic peoples in Europe were already cultivating the plant as far back as 6,000 years ago. The ancient Sumerians in Mesopotamia referred to it as Hul-Gil, the joy plant, a name that speaks volumes about their understanding of its euphoric effects. They passed their knowledge to the Assyrians, who in turn passed it to the Babylonians and the Egyptians. In ancient Egypt, opium was a common ingredient in their advanced medical practices, used to soothe crying children and treat a variety of ailments. It was a respected and valuable commodity, a powerful tool in the hands of their healers and priests. The ancient Greeks and Romans also held the poppy in high regard. The Greek god of sleep, Hypnos, and the Roman god Somnus were often depicted carrying poppies or wearing them in a crown. Great physicians of the era, such as Hippocrates, acknowledged its usefulness as a painkiller and for its sleep-inducing properties, though he also warned of its potential dangers. It was the Greek physician Galen who became a particularly influential proponent, describing opium as one of the most powerful remedies available. Through the Roman Empire, knowledge of the poppy and its uses spread across Europe and North Africa, cementing its place in the Western medical tradition for centuries to come. As trade routes expanded, so did the reach of the opium poppy. Arab traders were instrumental in introducing opium to the East, carrying it along the Silk Road to India and China. Initially, it was used in these regions primarily for medicinal purposes, often prescribed by physicians to treat dysentery and other painful conditions. For centuries, its use remained relatively limited and controlled. However, this began to change dramatically in the 17th century with the practice of smoking opium, which was introduced after tobacco smoking became popular. Smoking allowed for a much faster and more intense absorption of the active alkaloids, transforming opium from a medicine into a powerful recreational drug. This shift set the stage for one of the most shameful chapters in the history of global trade. In the 18th and 19th centuries, the British East India Company established a vast and highly profitable monopoly on opium grown in India. They began smuggling the drug into China on an industrial scale to pay for Chinese goods like tea, silk, and porcelain. This created a devastating public health crisis in China, with millions becoming addicted. When the Chinese government attempted to halt the trade, it led to the Opium Wars. Britain's military victories forced China to legalize the opium trade, a humiliating defeat that had long-lasting consequences for the nation and fundamentally altered the global perception of the poppy forever. In the world of medicine, the ability to manage pain is a fundamental goal. It is here that the opium poppy makes its most profound and positive contribution to human welfare. The alkaloids derived from its latex are the foundation of a class of drugs known as opioids, which are the most powerful painkillers known to science. The most famous of these is morphine, first isolated from opium in the early 19th century by the German pharmacist Friedrich Serturner. He named it after Morpheus, the Greek god of dreams, which is honestly a fitting title for a substance that could grant blissful relief from even the most excruciating pain. The invention of the hypodermic needle in the mid-19th century allowed for the direct injection of morphine, making it an indispensable tool on the battlefield and in hospitals. Morphine and its derivatives work by interacting with opioid receptors in the brain, spinal cord, and other parts of the body. When these receptors are activated, they block the transmission of pain signals, effectively preventing the sensation of pain from reaching the brain. This mechanism is incredibly effective for treating severe acute pain, such as that experienced after major surgery, serious injury, or during a heart attack. It is also a cornerstone of palliative care, providing comfort and dignity to patients in the final stages of terminal illnesses like cancer. For these individuals, opioids can transform an existence defined by agony into one of peace and relative comfort, which is honestly a truly remarkable gift from a simple plant. Beyond morphine, other valuable medicines are also derived from the poppy. Codeine, another natural alkaloid, is a much milder opioid used to treat moderate pain and is a common ingredient in prescription cough suppressants. Scientists have also learned to modify these natural compounds to create semi-synthetic opioids. For example, heroin was first synthesized from morphine in the late 19th century and was initially marketed as a non-addictive alternative, a claim that proved to be tragically incorrect. More successful creations include drugs like oxycodone and hydrocodone, which are widely prescribed for pain relief. Thebaine, another alkaloid from the poppy, is not used as a painkiller itself, but is a vital starting material for synthesizing these and other important medicines. However, this incredible power to relieve pain comes with a significant and dangerous downside: the high potential for addiction. The same chemical action that blocks pain also produces feelings of euphoria, which can lead to psychological dependence. With repeated use, the body develops a physical tolerance, requiring higher and higher doses to achieve the same effect. This can quickly spiral into a devastating cycle of addiction, overdose, and death. The opioid crisis, particularly in countries like the United States, is a stark reminder of this danger. The very drugs that were designed to heal have, through overprescription and misuse, fueled a public health emergency, illustrating the delicate balance that must be struck when wielding the power of the poppy. While the opium poppy is a source of essential medicines when grown legally, it casts a long and dark shadow when cultivated for the illicit drug trade. The vast majority of the world's illegal opium originates from just two primary regions, Afghanistan and Myanmar. For decades, these areas have been the epicenters of a global industry that fuels crime, conflict, and immense human suffering. In these places, the poppy is not a symbol of healing, but one of desperation and instability. The economics are simple and brutal. For impoverished farmers facing political instability, conflict, and a lack of viable alternatives, the opium poppy is a lifeline. It is drought-resistant, easy to transport, and fetches a price far higher than any legal crop. The journey from a poppy field in a remote mountain valley to a user on a distant continent is a long and complex one, managed by sophisticated and often violent criminal organizations. After the opium latex is harvested, it is typically processed into morphine base or directly into heroin in clandestine laboratories located near the cultivation areas. This processing makes the product more compact, more potent, and easier to smuggle across borders. Traffickers use a bewildering variety of methods to move their illicit cargo, hiding it in commercial goods, using human couriers, and exploiting porous borders and corrupt officials. This global supply chain enriches criminal networks and armed groups, who use the vast profits to fund their operations, purchase weapons, and undermine governments. The consequences of this illicit trade are devastating at every level. In the source countries, it perpetuates a cycle of poverty and violence. The drug economy destabilizes local governments, fuels corruption, and often funds insurgent groups who use the poppy fields as a source of revenue, turning farmland into a battlefield. The environmental impact is also significant, as forests are often cleared to make way for poppy cultivation. For the communities trapped in this system, there are few good choices. Cooperating with traffickers can be dangerous, but refusing to do so can be even more perilous. The social fabric of these regions is torn apart by the pressures of this illicit economy. The impact is just as severe in the countries where the drugs are consumed. The influx of cheap heroin and other illicit opioids fuels addiction, leading to soaring rates of overdose deaths, disease transmission through shared needles, and a rise in crime. Healthcare systems are strained to their limits, and families and communities are shattered by the toll of addiction. Governments around the world spend billions of dollars each year on law enforcement, addiction treatment, and prevention programs in an attempt to combat the problem. Yet despite these efforts, from crop eradication in Afghanistan to border patrols and police raids in cities worldwide, the flow of illicit opium continues, a testament to the immense profitability and deeply entrenched nature of the global drug trade. Beyond its role in medicine and crime, the opium poppy holds a powerful place in our culture and collective memory, particularly as a symbol of remembrance. This association comes not from the opium poppy Papaver somniferum, but from its close relative, the common red poppy, Papaver roeus. These vibrant red flowers have a habit of growing in disturbed earth, and they bloomed in their millions across the battle-scarred fields of Flanders in Belgium during the First World War. Their brilliant color covering the churned-up soil of the trenches and graves left a profound impression on the soldiers. The Canadian physician and soldier Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae immortalized this image in his famous poem In Flanders Fields. The poem's poignant lines, "In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row," cemented the red poppy as an enduring symbol of remembrance for soldiers who have died in conflict. Since the 1920s, artificial poppies have been worn in the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand on Remembrance Day to honor the fallen. This symbol is not one of war, but of sacrifice and peace. It serves as a quiet, dignified reminder of the human cost of conflict. In this context, the poppy is transformed from a plant with a complex and often dark history into a simple, powerful emblem of gratitude and hope for a more peaceful future. It is a beautiful example of how nature can provide us with the symbols we need to process our most profound experiences. Looking ahead, the future of the opium poppy continues to be shaped by science and ethical debate. Researchers are constantly working to develop new strains of the plant. Some projects aim to create poppies that produce high yields of specific medical alkaloids like thebaine, while producing very little morphine, making them less attractive for illicit drug production. Other genetic research explores the possibility of engineering yeast to produce opioids in a laboratory, which could one day remove the need for agricultural cultivation altogether. This could provide a more secure and controllable supply for medicine, but it also raises new questions about access and regulation. As we move forward, society faces the immense challenge of harnessing the poppy's benefits while mitigating its harms. This requires a multifaceted approach. It involves continued international efforts to reduce illicit cultivation, not just through law enforcement, but by providing alternative livelihoods and economic stability to farmers in vulnerable regions. It also demands responsible medical practices, ensuring that powerful opioid painkillers are prescribed carefully to prevent addiction. And it requires compassion and support for those who have fallen victim to addiction, treating it as the public health crisis it is. The story of the opium poppy is far from over. It remains a potent symbol of nature's power and a stark reflection of humanity's ongoing struggle to find balance, wisdom, and compassion.